Hi, babies. I'm late, but I'm here. Man, last week was a doozy, and this week's just been just as long. So I wasn't necessarily like down and out about myself. The problem was, I swear the last 2 weeks, I have just watched so many people's lives in front of me crumble, and it was super difficult because there's a big part of me that looks at situations like that and one, I either saw them coming already, or two, I know and can see the reasoning on why they're happening and what they're supposed to learn from it. So you have to be compassionate and helpful and be that little life coach that I am and support, but I'm also like that really sword friend. I'm not the blanket friend. So I'm very honest when it comes to everything. And great news, like everyone was really receptive and all that, but it still is one of those things that, like I still have a piece of me that, like I said, was super protective. So there's a good piece of me that gets a little frustrated in those situations and may or may not, want to fight people, but I don't and I haven't and I won't. But still, I'm an empath. It's always going to break my heart to see it. So, anyways, there was something really, really cool that has happened in the last 2 weeks that I do want to share with you guys because I think it's a massive experience in this journey. And it was something I didn't even realize until it was like the very end of it. So, in the past, being the helpful person that I am, I would always do everything and anything that I possibly could to obviously help anybody go through what they were going through because that's my purpose. This is what I'm here for. But in that past, I would get so dreadfully drained from doing it. Where it was like, I could have one conversation and you would catch me sleeping for days. Or, I was a full time bartender. So I was constantly feeding all of those energies and constantly helping every customer that I talked to and, being a little therapist behind the bar anyway. So a lot of that was super draining as well. And then I would go home and just immediately be exhausted. I'd stay up all night just in the fact that I needed some form of silence. I just needed my own space and my own energy. And then I was finding it super difficult to even get up in the morning and go anywhere because it just felt like I just had no energy. I was just constantly drained at all points in time. So it got to a point where I hit a moment in my life, and this is probably, I would say, like the last 2 years of my life. I've really stepped aside from prominently helping anybody. And I really distanced myself. And I know I probably irritated a lot of people by doing that because I was very hermit mode for sure. But it was one of those things that like I just really wanted to focus on my own healing for once. And to do that and to be in that space, I did have to let everybody go. I didn't have the capacity to help everybody else on top of helping myself. And any empath that is listening right now, I'm sure you are so aware of how difficult that is because we are the vaults. We're the ones that they come to for everything. So having to separate that and just focus on me felt very selfish. It it hurt a lot, but I did stick to the awareness of how important it was. So I kind of that was what pushed me forward to be able to do it and just keep on that path to understand like there was a bigger picture to it. Like there was always the understanding that like I have to do this. Otherwise, I will have nothing to give. So it's just that repetitive, like you have to fill yourself first kind of thing. So my point of bringing all of this up, I'm really handsy today. I have a lot of energy. My point of bringing this up tonight is through all the experiences in the last 2 weeks, I sat down and realized that every situation that I was listening to and everybody that I was helping, everybody that I was speaking to about these things, like I had such an abundance of outpour of energy and knowledge and compassion. And I wasn't walking away from these situations feeling drained. And it didn't really like occur to me while it was all happening in the last couple of weeks until I sat down and had these like really, really big conversations. And by the end of the conversations, I was literally like running around just like my goofy little self, cracking jokes, like highest form of sarcasm. And this just that was not something that came naturally to me after like big conversations like this or something really big happened. I would be the first person to just like, okay, I'm going to lay down. I'm tired now. And I'll be fully transparent, I had this moment that I was in the car and I was driving up north and I was kind of reflecting on like it was like one after another. On top of the fact that like I'm working a ridiculous amount of hours right now and then of course trying to keep up on this podcast. So it's just been exhausting anyways, but like keeping up on these conversations and helping people through these things and still feeling full. And it's weird to say, but I literally started yelling out loud and just started screaming, "Bring it on. Bring anything on. I got this. I can help whoever. I can give whatever energy I want." Like I was so full the whole time. And it was just so cool because it's one of those things that I think I talked about it in a previous episode that when you're doing work and you're healing yourself, there are some things that just come supernatural that you don't even realize you've changed. There are pieces of yourself that you haven't even realized connected to this entirely different person until you start reacting to things differently or acting situations out differently. And then it's like the end of that where you kind of sit back and reflect and then you go, oh my God, I handled that way different than I ever would have before. So it was just kind of like a really cool realization that one, it was a little bit of validation that like everything that I've done over the last couple of years worked, which is great. Two, it was also really cool validation that, you know, the way that I was able to handle all of the situations and help everybody through it, you know, just clearly validated me that like I still got it, you know? I don't know, man. I was out of the game for a long time, so it just really excited me that like I'm still capable of helping on that deeper level and on that subconscious level and just really being able to like calm people down and connect them to a different part of themselves, which is dope. So the whole point of even bringing all of this up was mostly to give you my experience and just kind of give you the proof that like it works. One, focusing on yourself and healing yourself works. Two, making sure that you are filling yourself first works. I'm pretty sure I only have two, but if I think of something else, I'll let you guys know. So, anyways, from that, I will try to transition into a little bit more of deeper stuff. I did want to go a little deeper into last week's episode because I did really feel bad that I kind of like cut everything off, but I literally just like hit that brick wall that I was so hyper focused on finding solutions and fixing what was going on and what was happening that I really did try to like get back in the groove and just try to finish out the episode, but I just had zero focus on this. Like my mind just kept going to what was needed to be dealt with. So I did feel a little bad about that. So I do kind of want to go a little deeper into it and just kind of stick around the topic of people's projections on us. And it's funny because a lot of these things that are happening right now have to do with people projecting. Whether it be something as minute as something happening in their day and they just got frustrated about that and then projected the rest of the day on you, or something massive like deep childhood trauma or deep insecurities that they haven't fixed that's what they're projecting on you. And a lot of that goes into like family ties, relationships. Not too much of this has to do with career, minus the fact that like most of the time, any job that we're working, we kind of deal with people that have a difficult time just leaving their personal life at the door. And most of the time they bring it into work, which isn't my style. And I mean, I guess that makes sense because like projection's not really my style anyways, but it doesn't really matter what I'm going through outside. I just like when it comes to work, man, you got to go in, set all that right at the door and just act like an entirely different person if you have to. And then you can pick it all up and throw it over your shoulder when you leave. But I think people are so unaware of like the energy that they really fill into rooms. Like you can have an entire establishment be on the best level possible, and you can have one singular person. And man, negative energy fills a room so much heavier than any positivity can. So it's super difficult because it really weighs down every single person around you, which is also why I've always been a fan of hermit mode, because if I get into those modes where like something's going on, I'm in a deep pit and I know I need to get out, I know that the moment I walk out my door, there are so many days that I can ruin just based on my energy alone. Like, I don't even have to speak a word. I just know I'm going to create weight anywhere that I walk. And obviously, there's things that you just have to do, like work, clearly. But for the most part, like, I'm hiding away until I get my stuff together and then I'll figure it out and come back out after. So, anyways, a lot of this has to do with like family, your friends, your relationships, whether they be platonic, romantic, doesn't matter, all relationships of all forms. This really, really affects it. Because you can have a random person on the street project their issues onto you for no reason. And it's way easier to walk away from that and just completely forget that it ever happened. But when it's the people that you love or that you care about or that you trust, or even the people that you feel safe with, or the people that made promises before they were triggered, it's so much more difficult to walk away from that situation unscathed. And that was kind of what I was talking about when I said how much we take it personal and how we can achieve not taking it personal anymore, because it really is just a difficult thing to do. It's by no means an easy task to reprogram your brain into becoming so hyper aware of every situation possible that it happens and you immediately look at it like, okay, I know what this is. That's obviously not about me. But it is doable. I know it's doable because I do it. And you don't have to trust me on that, but it'd probably be a smart choice if you did. You know, it's funny too, because I was always told that I am too much of an overthinker and I think of too many scenarios, which is hilarious because it literally became my superpower doing that. Because, yeah, obviously sometimes I think of negative scenarios as well, but for the most part, it's the fact that I'm thinking of all scenarios that one of them's going to pop out and it connects in my brain and I'm like, that might make the most sense. It's like you find that scenario that lines up with like things that have happened in their past and things that have happened in their childhood, which is their past, or things or ways that they've been acting lately. And it kind of just all comes full circle. And then you're just like, ah, that's the one. There it is. Boom. Overthinking. Thank you. I think the issue that most of us find the most difficult is the fact that you have to slow down enough in life to become hyper aware or even just aware of any of these situations. Like anything that I talk about, like the bigger picture or other people projecting or not taking it personal or your own healing process, or I'm not going to go on the list because it goes on forever. But to become aware of any of those things, you have to slow down. You have to slow your mind down. And when you're constantly on go mode and you're never giving yourself a moment or a break, and you're constantly finding little things to keep you busy, to keep you distracted from how you feel because you don't want to feel them, you're also running away from that awareness that can quite literally create the peace in your life that you're looking for. That's not what we want. So reverting back to that present moment and finding that slow mind movement, that's when you really start setting those emotions to the side for a second, because like our natural reaction is to jump emotions first, especially when it's something that's affected us, right? So when we're slowing down, we set those emotions for the side, we allow that logical brain to come forward a little bit, see the situation for what it is, look at the bigger picture of the entire thing, look at all the scenarios. And I mean, this is like a split second. I'm not saying like in the middle of a heated argument or something, like you take 25 minutes to sit and process, unless you have to. If that's what you need to do, if you guys are in a fight or an argument with somebody, it's okay to walk away and sit down and process all of it if it takes you a little longer. But the longer that you do this, these are split second decisions. You probably didn't even hear that snap. I snap. These are split second decisions and thoughts that form together to give you that understanding of the true meaning of the experience that you're going through. This is literally me trying to explain to you how to become aware enough to not take it personal. And man, do I pray that any of this makes sense in the slightest. I think another super important thing is to not react, especially if you don't have control over your reactions yet. It is best to just not react at all. So if it is something that's going on, or communication that is going wrong, or there are certain faults in your relationships, if you don't have full control over your emotional reaction to these things, just do not react at all. Like, this is when you need to kind of like take however long you need and pull all of that together, because emotionally reacting to any situation just creates spirals. And then it gets even more complicated if you feel like you are reacting the correct way, but maybe the person that you're speaking to is continuing to project and react in not the best way. And no matter what you're saying and no matter how well you're articulating the situation, they're just still not understanding that concept. But you do have to understand, like, if that's the situation that's cycling in your life and repeating over and over and over again, that you're finally coming with this logical mind, is very good understanding, and they're just kind of cycling the same thing back to you and they're not getting better in their communication tactics. Those are the situations that you need to just walk away from. No matter how bad it hurts, no matter how much you love that person, those conversations are not going to change until they figure out what they need to do for themselves, or until they slow their mind down enough to figure out what their logical mind is thinking instead of them pouring emotions to you. Because most of the time that people are projecting, they're not realizing that they're projecting to you. At least they don't realize it until it's too late and then it's done. And then you have, the people that will sit back and reflect. And then, man, does that open up like a whirlwind where there's also so many people in this world that will reflect and realize it almost immediately after it happens, but then feel too embarrassed to actually admit it and take accountability for it. So then they just ignore all of it. So then you're stuck feeling helpless on what to do or how to better the conversation when you just can't, because they're aware and there's nothing that you can say that will make them more aware of what they already know. But you also can't force them into admitting and taking accountability for their own actions. And man, I'm going to repeat it again, and I'll probably repeat it a lot more after this. You don't have to accept anything that makes you unhappy. Like, I'm sorry, but if people are treating you that way, or these are how the conversations are going, or you get triggered or upset or emotional every single time that you have some form of communication with these people, you just don't have to. It is okay to walk away from those situations. And I think the problem is, like, we think it has to be forever. It just doesn't have to be forever. But you also don't have to think about that. I have this weird thing that I tell people to deal with emotional loss or breakups or friendships ending or families falling apart, to literally treat it like an addiction. Because it really is a routine. Like, all of these things in our lives just go down to routines. So treat it like an addiction, one day at a time. If you feel like things need to be different and you need them fixed, or you just can't keep your mind off somebody, one day at a time. Don't react today. Just today. Don't think about tomorrow. Don't even think about an hour from now. Just right now. Don't react. Don't reach out. Just be with you and only you for just a minute. For just right this second. We're not thinking any further than just right now. Fun fact, that's also a really good way to get out of anxiety as well. One moment at a time. If you feel like something's going wrong and you start getting anxious about it, then just go back to is anything going on right this second? Because right this second, I'm speaking into a microphone and vaguely looking at myself at the camera because I still hate it, guys. I still hate it. So I look over every once in a while. But nothing else is happening. That's all I'm doing right now. I'm just chilling. Nothing's happening. There is nothing that has gone on in the past that is still going on. There is nothing in the future that is going on yet. It's me right now. Nothing's going wrong. So hopefully that might help a tiny bit, just on that side note of anxiousness. I also don't know if I mentioned it last episode. I probably did, but whatever. Control is a very important thing about this too. Our desire to control the outcome, our desire to control other people's emotions and other people's actions and other people's reactions. And I think a big part of that too is the fact that, like, most of the time that these things are happening to you, it's really hard for us to comprehend when somebody hurts us that we would have never done that to. Like, I would never treat somebody the way you treated me. And the desire for that comprehension kind of goes away with forgiveness, or just when you become like that unbothered about certain situations in general. But nonetheless, letting go of the idea that you can control anybody's emotion or anybody's actions, or that you can save or change any human being to do and be better in their life. That's what you got to let go of. And man, I want to get like down and dirty about forgiveness. So maybe I'll do that next week. You just got to keep pushing every single day to find your self-worth, find your self-love. And so many of these situations are just going to blow away and you won't even notice that it's happening. You won't even notice that you don't react to anything or care about anything anymore, or that you're emotionally affected by it, until you just wake up one day and you're like, wow, that didn't really hurt. That's cool. That's where we want to get. That's that good. Oops, sorry. All right, to wrap things up a little bit, my news for you guys, by the way, I have 2 more weeks of full time. Because at the end of the day, man, I'm a professional and I'm not going to leave anybody high or dry. I'm going to do whatever I can. Even if I have to set myself aside for just a little bit, that's okay. But anyways, I will no longer be full time. I am going down to partially no time. Not part-time, partially no time. But man, it's really just been irking my soul every single day that I just want to take that leap of faith. Like, I really do. I'm really passionate about this. I am having so much fun with this. And it's not even like, the whole podcast is going to be this like one and done end game kind of thing. But there are so many things that are in the works right now that, like, at the end of the day, I kind of have to have a platform of some sort in some direction. That way I can, successfully put out the things that I want to put out. And I mean, this could be like, I could get these things done in 3 months or 3 years. I don't really have a timeline on everything. And I don't have a timeline on anything in my life. It does what it wants to do. I just figure out how to flow with it the best I can and just do every and anything that only feels good to me and nothing else. So that's what I'm going to do. So I have sat with a lot of fear lately, because I really am like, I'm setting everything aside and I'm going to go at this full force. I'm going to give this my all, because I have spent the last decade of my life starting businesses, doing little side stuff of things that feel so good to me, but I've always done it on the side because I always had my little, survival job directly in the center, and that was my priority. That was the direction that I kept going. And I just feel like it, I've lived an incredible life and I've done so many things, but I just feel like I got to do something different to get into the direction that I really feel like I'm meant to go on. Like, I can't say feel like, this is my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. And on so many different levels, not just this, but there are so many different things that I'm doing. So anyways, yeah, I'm gonna dive head first. I'm not touching my toe in this water. I'm gonna see how it goes. And there is this like deep-seated fear that I'm gonna do so many things and it's gonna be on camera. And not only do I have to watch me fail, but you have to watch me fail, which that's a way deeper fear than I've ever felt before. It's still that little people pleaser in me. Like, I can disappoint myself, but I can't disappoint everybody else. But anyways, nonetheless, the way that I'm looking at it now, because I kind of had to like shift that, was for every single person out there that isn't ready to take that leap of faith and really jump into it, at the very least, when I do succeed in this, you get to watch that instead. Like, I can't sit here and think of like, oh, you're going to watch me fail. That's so sad. So you're going to watch me win. And then it's going to motivate. And I want it to inspire people, because I have literally talked for the last decade about people taking a leap of faith and just really going after their dreams and doing it and putting you first. But now you guys have to watch it firsthand. And when this works out, you have quite literally zero excuses after that. Like, I gave you proof that it worked. So you gotta do it. And I think at least like that thought's pretty cool. So yeah, I will keep you guys updated along the way. See how it goes. So we're gonna keep being a little bit tired for the next couple of weeks, but after that, man, I'm all yours and you're all mine. And I really appreciate everybody that has stuck around And man, I appreciate more the kindest words that I have ever received. Like, you start something like this and you get like that tiny little fear of like those haters in the comments and stuff. And I'm sure one day that'll happen. But the things that I have gotten so far, the texts I've received, the comments, the messages, I can't even begin to explain to you guys how much I appreciate it. It's just so cool. Like, it gives me little butterflies in my stomach and stuff. It's sweet. So thanks for that. I really like being on this journey with you guys. So I'm really excited to keep it going. And I'm really excited to get even more into this. And if I talk about forgiveness next week, man, ignore me if I get a little frustrated, because I got some words to say. And I got some words to say about people. Nothing specific. I'm not going to name names, but thank you guys for sticking around and always joining in. And I can't wait to talk to you next week. And I can't wait to keep this going with you guys. Thank you for subscribing, sharing, downloading episodes. I appreciate you all. And of very course, always, in always, be present, be calm, and be a creature. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.